Sets new tariffs on dozens of countries' export. UK ninja sword ban begins as 1,000 weapons surrendered in knife crime crackdown. For joining us on Global Box this afternoon, I am Oladoyin Ayegbusi. We begin the news from Nigeria, where the National Economic Council (NEC) has called for the strengthening of state emergency management agencies (CEMAs) across the 36 states of the Federation and urged the Federal Ministry of Finance to release emergency funds to address the impending flood effect. This was contained in a statement by the Special Senior Advisor to the President on Communications, Office of the Vice President, Stanley Nwocha, yesterday. The Council's resolution came following a presentation by the Director General of the National Emergency Management Agency (NEMA), Zubaida Umar, on the country's 2025 flood preparedness and response initiative during the Council's meeting. Outside Nigeria, a Kenyan economist, Moses Michuri Mwangi, says the country's textile industry may face renewed pressure amid change to the U.S. trade policy under President Donald Trump. Recall, the African nation is facing a 10% tariff on export from August 1st, with concerns about the future of African Growth and Opportunity Act, which is the AGOA, which is important to the Kenyan export-oriented appeal sector. Mwangi, an economist at the Institute of Economic Affairs, says it appears that AGOA may elapse.
If that happens, it means we have to go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, can Kenya sustain its textile industry? Will investor be still willing to invest in Kenya textile industry? Do we have new markets? Can we still export to the US with the tariffs and the duties and still remain competitive?
In April, Trump announced a new tariff on all imports, citing the need to protect the American industry. The U.S. trade has provided duty-free across to U.S. market for eligible African countries and will expire in September. And outside Africa, United States President Donald Trump has signed an executive order reinforcing reciprocal tariffs running from 10% to 41% on U.S. imports from dozens of countries and foreign locations. Separately, Trump also signed an executive order yesterday that increased tariffs on certain Canadian goods, with the White House accusing Ottawa of failing to cooperate in curbing the ongoing flood of fentanyl and other illicit drug entering the U.S. In a statement titled "Further Modifying the Reciprocal Tariff Rates," the U.S. listed some 69 trading partners and their respective adjustment tariff rates. The U.S. bond export from some of Washington's major trading partners, including Australia and United Kingdom, will be subject to a baseline rate of 10%. Other trade partners will see tariffs of 15% or more. And United States President Donald Trump has threatened new sanctions while slamming Russia's military actions in Ukraine as disgusting. Speaking to reporters yesterday, Trump described as disgusting Moscow's attack on Kyiv that killed more than a dozen people. He also said he would send a special envoy, Steve Witkoff, currently in Israel, to visit Russia next.
Russia, I think it's disgusting what they're doing. This is Biden's war, it's not my war. But I said if I get in, I'll try and get the thing stopped. But I think what Russia's doing is very sad.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has already met Witkoff multiple times in Moscow before Trump's efforts to mend ties with the Kremlin came to a grinding halt. Washington has given Moscow until the end of next week to cease hostilities in Ukraine under threat of severe economic sanctions. Trump also reiterated the deadline again yesterday. Just listen to Global Box on Adamimogo 107.7 FM Ido Ekiti. Coming up next, UK ninja sword ban begins as 1,000 weapons surrendered in knife crime crackdown. Do stay with us.
Happy birthday to you. Ọmọ ọlọ́jọ́ ìbí.
Èmi comrade Gbọ́lága Ọláyọkùn lórúkọ tí Nehemiah àti Èkìtì Roundtable. Bí kí ọ̀gá mi ayẹyẹ. Ọmọlúàbí ọlọ́pọlọ pípẹ́. Ọkọ̀ kókó kì í. Ọmọ náà gbà kéyìí òṣùṣù yọ. Tiwantiwa engineer Káyọ̀dé Olúbùnmi Òjó. Ike o. Kú oríire ayẹyẹ ọjọ́ òbí rẹ o.
Today is your birthday. Ó yá bẹ̀rẹ̀ jó ijó ọpẹ́ o. Today is your birthday. Happy birthday. Ó yá bẹ̀rẹ̀ jó ijó ọpẹ́ o.
Wẹ́ aṣàìsàn. Ayé adábù rẹ̀. Kété ìròróré rẹ̀. Kété mùtúmù wá. Láyọrí sí rere. Adé á sì mú ṣe. Èmi comrade Gbọ́lága Ọláyọkùn. Tó gba aládùn àṣù. Ayẹyẹ ọjọ́ òbí rẹ̀ kọ́dà ẹ̀ bọ̀. Ibi àyè gíga lọ àti ṣé o. Àṣẹ wá. Ẹ̀jẹ̀nà Káyọ̀dé Òjó. Ike o. Òjò òbùkún adé. Happy birthday sà. Ọmọ kóró ṣọ́ọ̀bẹ̀. Ọ̀múdàpárì kó. Wàdàgbàdùgbò. Nínú ayọ̀ àlàáfíà òun dùnú. Àti ìgbéga. Àmì àṣẹ Èdùmàrè. Congratulations and happy birthday sà. Ǹjẹ́ comrade Gbọ́lága Ọláyọkùn. Lórúkọ ti Nehemiah àti Èkìtì Roundtable.
Welcome back and thanks for joining us again. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook via Adamimogo 107.7 FM, Ido Ekiti. Now to the rest of the news. El Salvador's ruling party has passed a bill to overhaul how elections are run in the Central American nation, opening the door for President Nayib Bukele to serve another term. According to report, 70 or 57 Congress members yesterday voted in favor and 3 voted against the constitutional amendment that will allow indefinite presidential re-election, extend terms from 5 years to 6, and scrap election runoffs. With the latest constitutional reform, Bukele, who enjoys enormous support at home for his heavy-handed campaign against criminal gangs, will be able to run again. The overhaul will also shorten the president's current term to synchronize election in 2027, as presidential, legislative, and municipal elections are currently staggered. In the United Kingdom, the Interior Ministry has today announced that at least 1,000 weapons have been surrendered under a British government amnesty launched last month to combat knife crime, as a new ban on ninja sword came into effect. Recall that overall, knife crime in England and Wales has risen 87% over the past decades, with 54,587 offences recorded last year alone, a 2% rise from 2023 and among the highest rates in Europe. Report says over the month of July this year, the government urged youth or young persons to drop off weapons, including bladed ones, at amnesty bins or a mobile van, part of efforts to control knife crimes, particularly when it involves youth, an initiative that saw at least 1,000 weapons handed in. Germany's foreign minister, Johann Wedpol, said recognition of a Palestinian state should come at the end of talks on two-state solution, but Berlin would respond to any unilateral actions after citing annexation threat by some Israeli ministers. The minister issued the statement yesterday before heading off to Israel and the Palestinian territories on a trip Berlin has billed as a fact-finding mission amid heightened alarm over starvation in Gaza. Speaking to reporters, Wade Paul reiterated Germany's stance that a sustainable resolution to the Gaza war can only be achieved through a negotiated two-state solution, a Palestinian state coexisting in peace alongside Israel.
Israel runs the risk of becoming increasingly isolated internationally. I see it as Germany's duty to do everything in its power to prevent this from happening. In my talks with the Israeli foreign minister, I emphasized once again at the very beginning that Germany stands firmly alongside Israel in its goal of finally securing the release of the hostages.
His remarks marks Germany's strongest warning yet to Israel as Western nations intensify efforts to expert pressure. Meanwhile, Israel's National Security Council, NSC, has sharpened its travel warnings for Israelis visiting and staying in the United Arab Emirates, UAE, citing a heightened risk of terrorist organizations carrying out attacks in the Gulf state. In a statement published yesterday, the NCS cited a growing threat from terrorist organizations, the Iranian Hamas, Hezbollah, and Global Jihad, attacking Israeli targets motivated by Israel's military operations in the Middle East. The statement said past experience has taught Israel that terrorist organizations often focus their efforts in neighboring countries. It added that in light of this, the NSE is reiterating the possibility that they will try to carry out attacks against Israeli and Jewish targets in the UAE, especially in Jewish holidays and Sabbath. And finally, on sports this afternoon, RB Leipzig are interested in 3 Chelsea players this summer transfer window. The players are Armando Broja and Thrick George and Kani Chukwemeka. Chelsea are keen to trim their bloated squad this summer transfer window. The Blues have already signed several players this summer, including the likes of Joao Pedro and Liam Delap. Meanwhile, in another development, Gabonese striker Pero Emerick has rejoined his former club. Martial, the former Arsenal and Barcelona, joined Marseille after leaving Al Quad. With that sports story, we end this edition of Global Box on Adamimogo 107.7 FM Edo Ekiti. Just before we go, the highlight again. I told you that here in Nigeria, the National Economic Council, NEC, has called for the strengthening of state emergency management agencies across the 36 states of the Federation and urged the Federal Ministry of Finance to release emergency funds to address the impending flood effect. We also told you that the United States President Donald Trump has signed an executive order reinforcing reciprocal tariff ranging from 10% to 41% on U.S. imports from dozens of countries and foreign locations. Finally, we reported that the United Kingdom Interior Ministry has today announced that at least 1,000 weapons have been surrendered under a British government amnesty launch last month to combat knife crime, as a new ban on ninja swords came into effect. And that's Global Box this afternoon on Adamimogo 107.7